BTS, Sir Hairless here. Today is a bit of a surprise song. Maybe for you, but particularly for me. I love ABBA. I thought I knew all of ABBA, but I don't know this song. This is ABBA Happy New Year. I put out a poll a couple of weeks ago asking my channel members what song I should do as a New Year's reaction. There was the clear winner, which will be coming on New Year's Day of 2025. But this song was another song I received as a response. It caught my eye because, just like I mentioned, I thought I knew every ABBA song. Maybe not every song, but at least most of them. So I immediately came into YouTube and I searched ABBA Happy New Year. The video has over 100 million views, which means it's clearly a very famous ABBA song. It's one that slipped through the cracks of my ABBA upbringing. So I'm very excited, to say the least. I always love discovering songs by artists that you love. ABBA, in my opinion, are one of the best bands of all time. Benny was their main songwriter, I believe, and some of the stuff he came up with, just insane. This one was apparently written by Benny and Bjorn, 1980. So let's get straight into it. Oh, and if you are watching this soon after it's released, depending on where you are, make sure you see the New Year's fireworks, and I'm wishing you an amazing 2025 ahead.
Champagne and the fireworks are through. Here we are, me and you, feeling lost and feeling blue. It's the end of the party and the morning seems so grey, so unlike yesterday. Now's the time for us to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year, may we all have a vision now and then of a world where every neighbor is a friend. Happy New Year, may we all have our homes, our will to try. If we don't, we might as well lay down and
They don't miss. ABBA do not miss. There's some really, really cool things here, especially regarding the harmony. That's probably what I'll focus on for the first part. I mean, everything as well, structurally, rhythmically, texturally, the instruments they're choosing to use. If this is your first time seeing my channel, this is where we pause and go over some analysis. So if you don't want to hear my analysis, go to the timestamp. I guess I'll kind of go through it chronologically. Very interesting opening here. We get a melodic motif moving above a static part. I'm not going to go into that just yet. There were some other things that I'd like to go over, and I don't want to make this analysis section too long. Hopefully I'll remember at the end to come back to the introduction to talk about that. The bass, though, in the introduction was very interesting to me because it comes in on the second beat. And then drops the octave as well. So this introduction, in terms of rhythm, in terms of structure, it's just showing us that we're in common time. So we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You then typically expect the bass to come in on the strong beat, on beat number 1 at the start of each bar or measure, but no. Nice little tinkly piano with these arpeggiated chords. Again, the bass with the rhythmic displacement. Then the melody comes in, and I like the melody.
No more champagne and the fireworks.
With this layered sustenance, sustaining coming in the synthetic underparts. But it's this part here on the fireworks are through. That jump down, that's a perfect fourth. Nothing out of the ordinary, a standard jump. But in this context, it's really, really interesting because of the harmony that we get in the chord. At first, I thought we had an A chord with the melody jumping, which is part of the A chord, but then down to this note, creating a major 7th chord, which is not that standard. But just listening again, I think instead of an A chord, we just change one note and it becomes a different chord, a C sharp minor chord. And her 2 notes are this one and this one, but up the octave. So they are part of the core chord. But there is still a funky note in there, and that's this one here, which again turns it into a 7th chord, but this time a minor 7th instead of a major 7th. Just gives it this dissonance in an otherwise very calm bit of music. I love the video, by the way, everything that I've seen, this setting and then into the weird party setting that we saw. I love the outfits, everything. Oh, I would have loved to have been alive at the time. Anyway, this is why I love so much of ABBA's music. It's different. It's not your standard 4-chord patterns with simple regular chords. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but everything about ABBA's music, for that reason, is so unique. And it's why I think so much of their music, it just sounds really interesting and, well, unique. There are more examples in what we've heard so far. I'll try and briefly go over them because I don't want this to become a music theory video. Oh, this is another new chord that we didn't have last time in the previous verse. I won't go into too much detail here, but these are the notes that we have. That's not a chord that's easy to define. You can see in this bit of music software, it doesn't have a name for this chord. We could think of it as a D minor chord with this note in there. The only thing is, in D minor, this note of B is actually a B flat. So you have to sharpen it by moving it up 1. Or we could also think of this chord as a B minor 7 chord. So that's with the 7th note added in. But you have to flatten, so bring down this 5th note. So in terms of theory and naming conventions, this is a very interesting chord. It's not a commonly heard chord. And I think we can hear that in the music.
It's the end of the party.
Emphasized by the piano rhythms. Then we get the chorus.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year, may we all have.
Oh, it's so catchy, really catchy, actually, I think. Ooh, that was a bit of poetry there. I am going to assume that the chorus comes back later on, so I'll speak about that then. And if it doesn't, I'll try and remember again at the end to come back to it. It's not just the harmony, though, that's really interesting and that gives the song such a unique feel. It's the rhythms, too, and everything to do with the rhythms.
May we all have a vision now and then of a world where every neighbor is a friend.
That bit there seems to freeze in time. The structure that we've been expecting, the 1, 2, 3, 4s repeated, seems to be thrown out the window. We have the repeated bass note, you know, at the bottom of everything is the harmonic foundation.
Now and then of a world where every neighbor.
Keeping the chord the same, it's not letting the chord change. It eventually does, but we get this rather circus-like.
Of a world where every.
That's how I think of it as circus-like, maybe because of the video. But it's a counter melody, and it's not only a counter melody with a lot of melodic movement, it also serves to add a new rhythmic drive to the music. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, when everything else is quite static. I really like this song so far. Let's carry on.
Sometimes I see how the brave new world arrives, and I see how it thrives in the ashes of our lives. Oh yes, man is a fool, and he thinks he'll be okay, dragging on feet of clay, never knowing he's astray, keeps on going anyway. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, may we all have a vision now and then of a world where every neighbor is a friend. Happy New Year, may we all have our homes, our will to try. If we don't, we might as well lay down and die.
So there's this introductory theme that we got right at the beginning. That's good that that's come back, because I think I would have forgotten to go back to that at the end. It's amazing how they use the most simple of things to make the music catchy. What I mean by that? We have this sustained E, not moving. And then the bass is on the A, kind of jumping between octaves. Changing notes just at the end of the section. But the main movement in terms of the harmony is the little. You'll see that the note that never changes is this one. We have that sustained note I spoke about before. And then the bass is on the A. If we move it up the octave. This is called a suspension, but the point here is there's this constant dissonance going on, even though it might not seem like it. Also, when the lower part moves down, remember this A is lower down in the bass, but just to show you the dissonances we get, that moving part then goes, look at this clash, it's very, very intense. And then down again. Again, a scrunch chord, but it just doesn't sound like it. And the repetitive nature of it, where the only movement is in that part, gets us very familiar with the music really quickly whilst not being boring, because there is movement even though it's very limited. There were some really cool new ideas that I just loved. Oh, the dissonance there, and then that little in the synth or something, and then really quite cheesy. If this was music that was made today, I don't think it would have a chance to become popular, which I really dislike, because I absolutely love this music. I don't care if people call it cheesy. I love it. It's so, so catchy. I mean, when we had Benny and Bjorn spinning around each other. I'm going to call up my mates and say we need to do this because it just looks fun. But yeah, those, I just always find it catchy. What's the other famous song? Well, I'm sure there are many, but the one famous song where they're used. When will I see you again? Anyway, so we get these oohs, which, you know, they're different. They're a new idea. They're very calming, which exaggerates the next surprise that we get. It's not only loud, it's homophonic, he's a stray, but also the change of chord comes a tiny bit early, a bit prematurely, at least based on what we might typically expect. But it's ABBA, so we should not typically expect anything. The chorus does repeat, so I wanted to talk about on the second Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, may we... That chord does not sound standard, it seems a bit dissonant. Really enhanced by the dropping bass line. Dum, dum, dum. Well, what happens? Again, don't worry so much about the notes or the names here, but this is our chord. If I put all the notes close together, and you'll see it's called a dominant seventh chord. Typically, after a dominant seventh chord, you'd expect the next chord to be 5 notes down. So from here, if we go down 5, then we end up here. And what do we get? That's exactly what we do get. So ABBA have used a dominant 7th chord in its very typical fashion. If I play those 2 chords, the dominant 7th and then the next chord, over and over, that probably sounds familiar to you and has a real sense of closure to it. It's typically used as a cadence. So if it were to come at the end of a phrase or a line. But ABBA use it in the middle, in the very, very middle of the phrase. And how do they make sure that there isn't a sense of closure like we might typically get? Happy New Year, may we all have a vision. Well, the delayed vocal entry on Have a Vision. Happy New Year, may we all have a vision. the delayed vocal entry, just like the delayed bass entry that we saw right at the start. And then in the chorus, this movement forward is then stunted by that repeated static section that changes things structurally that we spoke about before. Yeah, I just think there's so much to this song. Some really, really interesting musical decisions, and I think it works so well. Let's carry on until the end.
Seems to me now that the dreams we had before are all dead. Nothing more than confetti on the floor. It's the end of a decade. In another 10 years' time, who can say what we'll find? What lies waiting down the line? In the end, I'm 89. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. May we all have a vision now and then of a world where every neighbor is a friend. Happy New Year, Happy New Year. May we all have our hopes, our will to try. If we don't, we might as well lay down and die.
Well, there we go. ABBA, Happy New Year. I don't really have much more to say. There were mostly repeated musical ideas in that last section, some small differences here and there. For me, that's a very, very pleasant discovery to end 2024 with. If there are other ABBA songs that you think might have slipped through the cracks when I've been listening to ABBA growing up, please do let me know. I'm sure there are many more gems by them out there. I just love so many of their songs. To be able to output so many high quality songs that are loved by so many people around the world, in my mind, that's the level of genius that can only be attributed to a handful of songwriters. In case you can't tell, I love ABBA. I think very, very highly of them. Well, let's leave that one there. If you made it this far, thank you very much for sticking with me through this video. And if you've seen my other videos for the whole year, once more, I hope you have a wonderful 2025. If you enjoyed the video, would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you'd like to support me, you can donate me a final hot chocolate for the year at the Buy Me a Coffee linked below. Or if you'd like to join the community, get access to exclusive content, vote on polls, you can do so by joining the Patreon linked on the screen now. And I will see you next time.